Welcome back to the City Boys podcast. Kings, queens, and in-betweens. We're out here at City Park, ready for the first match of the League's Cup. Let's go. I'm here with my family. We got mom and dad here for the match today. What do you guys score predictions? What do we got?
Before the game, before seeing the starting 11, we went 2-1. Now we're going 4-0.
4-0.
5.
Berkey scoring.
All right. Spirits are high after the lineup drop. We got 3 new signings in the lineup. It's going to be huge, guys. Let's kick it to the boys in the studio. Come on, City!
Grayson, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. So lovely to see the beautiful Knight family. How wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ethan Thornton. I'm delighted to be here hosting the City Boys podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by my boy, Grayson.
Yes, guys, I am back. And yes, I did get to see a beautiful St. Louis City win in person. It's been so long. But damn, it felt good. Was buzzing on the way out of City Park last night, but man, it's good to be here. Jacob, how are you feeling, buddy?
I am fantastic, man. I was watching the game last night from home because I do live all the way out here in Portland, but I was not butts in seats. I was 3 inches away from my screen yelling at the TV. It felt just like it did last year, and it is such a great breath of fresh air. Ethan, who do we have with us today?
I know, everybody. We have got a very special guest tonight. STLCITYBOYS on Instagram. The man, the myth, the legend. He is up to date on all of our transfer news. Posts some of the best pre-match and post-match analysis that you can find on Instagram. Will Bratton, introduce yourself, boss.
Man, you're glazing me a little too much, man. I'm super excited to be here on the City Boys podcast. It's an excellent show here. I'm super excited to get to talk about the team. I do have my little humble community on Instagram that we do a lot of analysis and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun. We've grown really quickly working with some great people in doing so. And I'm super happy to be here and talk about the team tonight.
Well, can you blame me for doing tricks on it? He's such a nice guy. To introduce him, we just have some questions for him. Very basic stuff. Will, tell us what got you into soccer.
Yeah, man. So I hadn't really, a lot of people start team sports when they're like they're like 4 years old, 5 years old, but I didn't really start till I was in like 2nd grade. So a little bit later. And I got convinced to go to some like CYC soccer thing. They put me in at goalie. By the way, for context, I'm 5'8", not a goalie.
Hey,
but at the time, it was all right. And I was pretty good in my first game. Eventually, like someone got hurt or something. I ended up not playing in goal at some point. And I scored a goal. There happened to be a Gallagher, like coach and youth scout there. And he came up to my parents and I, after the first game I ever played in organized sports, and said, "You need to come play club soccer." And from that point on, I played for Gallagher. And that's kind of how I got into soccer.
Fair enough. That's a great origin story. Yeah.
Right, that's right. Mr. Views. I'm sure you were a fan of a different club at some point. You know, St. Louis is pretty new. But what do you love about St. Louis? What do you think sets our club apart?
Honestly, nothing really says it better than 22,423 fans in City Park screaming and chanting and going absolutely ballistic for the boys in City Red. That is the number one thing that sets this city apart from anything else. And obviously St. Louis has such a rich soccer history, going back to the 1950 World Cup with the upset over England in that World Cup with that roster that had like 5 St. Louisans on it. It's such a rich history. Plus we have such a large German population, and they love their footy. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, with that being said, the 22,400 and some odd numbers, what is your favorite city moment so far in just our short history?
Honestly, for me, I think one of the coolest moments ever, and this might not be a moment that everybody talks about, but for me, and it came at a terrible time too. So it was actually in our loss to Sporting Kansas City that ended our 2023 inaugural campaign. In that second match of the playoffs. It was Celio Pompeiu's goal to put City back in the game. It made a 1-2 score line with I think like 20 minutes to go. And the reason that was such an incredible moment was, one, because it was like the most wicked out of nowhere goal from Celio. But the primary reason for me was because it was the confidence. It was that final, like, this guy is ready for MLS. And then he came out this year and unfortunately suffered a horrible injury. That it was just horrible to see, but he came out this year absolutely flying. He's earned every dollar. He's earned every minute of playing time. And that goal, I think, was like that big moment that, like, this is Celio and Pompeo, and this is a guy that we're going to have in City Red for a couple of years at least, if he doesn't end up, in Europe or something like that for some crazy transfer. So for me, that was the coolest moment.
Dude, that's a great pick. That's a great pick.
That is a great pick. Celio's announcement to the league to be on watch. What a player, man. I hope he's doing all right. I know he's rehabbing right now, just getting his strength back. But Will, it's a delight to have you here. It's clear to us that you know ball, and we are delighted to have you on a podcast that knows some ball. Well, gents, we ready to actually talk about some St. Louis City news? Before we even get into the game, something happened. We signed another player. Gentlemen, can you believe this? Another one.
And a very key one, too, based off of his performance last night.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Simon Beecher, the man our new number 11, signs from AC Horsens in the second division in Denmark. Announced himself very strongly last night. We're definitely going to get more into his performance, but it's critical before we even get into the game that you all know that Simon Beecher has arrived. With that being said, we have played our first game this season in the Leagues Cup, and this is a controversial tournament this season. Feeling a little bit of pressure from mostly the supporter groups of the MLS, and we're gonna get into it just a little bit. But if you don't know what the Leagues Cup is, real quick, or the Open Cup, it's basically America's equivalent into the FA Cup. It gives lower league teams a great chance to take on first division powerhouses and up their status and compete on a level that I feel like everyone who plays soccer dreams of one day. And the tournament is really special in St. Louis. It goes back a very long time, and it's history rich with championships and legacy. Originally, the Ben Millers, a side named after a person, which is very cool, comprised entirely of players from St. Louis, won the Open Cup in 1920. And this eventually snowballed into 10 U.S. Open Cup championships coming through St. Louis. And all the teams that won tell a really rich history of the city, the clubs, and the populations represented. It tells a good history of America, truthfully. I do want to commend the club in its handling of the situation. It's clear that they're being extremely transparent in the situation, that they are looking to participate in the Open Cup, but the MLS prevented that from happening this year. They have been meeting with supporter groups and trying to do right by the tournament. I don't know if any other club has met with any supporter groups. So I think that is really unique and special in how we are handling the tournament. And they've made it clear that their state or their status is to get back in to the Open Cup. With all that being said, St. Louis City has just played match 1 in the Leagues Cup. We ready to talk about it, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, take us through the lineup, please, Jacob.
Yeah, so very strong starting 11, features a lot of our brand new signings. We're going to start at the back. The man, he's always there, Roman Berkey between the sticks. Going to our back four, also to note, we were in a 4-2-3-1. We did think we were going to be in a 4-3-3 based off of the original lineup, but we were in a 4-2-3-1. Our back four comprised of Thomas Totlin, Tim Parker, Kyle Hebert, and Jaden Reed. At our 2 holding midfielders, we had Chris Durkin back on the field and Edu Loven with possibly his quietest night as a St. Louis player. Up in our front, our attacking trio, we had Novki Thorson, Cedric Toykert right there playing center attacking mid, Marcel Hartel out on the left side, and Simon Becker up top. Getting into the game in the 68th minute, we had Klein come on for Toykert and Indy on for Hartel. Grayson, what did you think of those 2 subs?
Yeah. Obviously, this starting lineup, we have to talk about the new additions to the club, the Germans. But I gotta say, this is massive. But it improves our starting lineup, but it also improves our depth so much. Um, Being able to have exciting players like Klein and Vasilev coming off of the bench, definitely injected some energy and some ability into our attack. Having Vasilev come on and start running at people, it was just nice to see. Definitely a nice change to have them coming off the bench, and also frees up some space to give some people who are running their asses off a little rest time, like our boy Kahima. He did come in super late, but hey, he's been running his cheeks off, man. He needs his time.
Yeah, in the 77th minute, speaking of him, Kojima came in for Simon Becker, who I think it's unanimous. Simon Becker had a hell of a night. I thought he was going to play a full 90, but 77 minutes is good enough for me. And then in the 90th plus 1 minute of stoppage time, we saw Jake Gerwood Reich come on for Edu Lowen.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was our lineup and subs.
Yeah. So the first minutes of this game were pretty tense. STL was holding the ball, came out hot, really dominated play off the bat. And to me, it looked like we would be the ones to open scoring. I was mistaken. 17th minute, Dallas center back hits the ball upfield. Beautiful one-touch layoff from Pitar Musa into the path of Paul Areola, my bad. Beautiful through ball, slots Junqua in, easy finish, slots it past Berkey in the bottom right corner. Like butter, like butter. I was saying it to my family, and then I got text saying butter. It was too easy in transition. Not much else happens in my 22 minutes to speak of. There's a shot block attempt from Totland that I'm sure echoed throughout downtown St. Louis. And then slaloming run from Paul puts in Musa, who puts his shot low and past the post. That's it for me. Jacob, what happens next?
Well, in my 22 minutes, shit got started quick. Jump into the 26th minute. In Kosi Tafari, the man who broke Celio Pompeo's legs less than 2 months ago, he actually fucks up for one time this game. He had a piss poor pass forward that was intercepted by Chris Durkin. Chris Durkin takes 2 touches forward, plays into our new lone striker, Simon Becker. Becker almost loses the ball, but fights to get it back, which is something we have been dying to have back on the field. Gets it back, regains control, sees the run for Thorson out wide, plays him wide. Thorson takes a touch, fizzes in a low cross to find brand new signing Cedric Toiker awaiting at the penalty spot. Takes one touch, shoots it right under Martin Paz, bounces in the back of the goal. And I went fucking ballistic when we scored. It has been so long to see a cool goal scored from a run of play. I was losing my shit. How'd you guys feel?
It was insane being at City Park in that moment. Despite, a Leagues Cup crowd of only 17,000, the first not sold out game. Of course, we sold out every MLS game to this point, but the first, tournament game that we didn't really have a great showing at, it got loud at this moment because watching Choo Choo put one in the back of the net, his first appearance at home in front of St. Louis, it was absolutely electric. Not only that, but it was an equalizer, and that's huge, especially in the first half of a game, to just remind Dallas that, hey, we're right in this thing, where this is not a team that's just going to let Dallas beat us around again, because we've fallen victim to that twice this year already. So
yeah, it was great to see us actually show some resilience for once, come back from behind and early on.
Yeah, I was going to say that the atmosphere in the stadium was a little off, not having the supporter section behind the goal to kind of lead chants. I do want to, show some love to the fans that were there. They were trying to get some chants started. It was just a little off, disjointed, no drums to hold the rhythm. But hey, after that goal went in, all the STL chants were in unison, loud as hell. I loved it. Good to be back.
We could hear him all the way in Portland. But like St. Louis has done game in and game out, we almost fucked it up as soon as we got back level. We jumped to the 28th minute, 29th minute. Jaden Reed goes out to close down Tumasi, who rips across, and it hits him in his trailing arm. After a VAR check, it does come down that it is a penalty called, and none other than Pitar Musa, the $10 million man, steps up to the spot. And all I could think to myself was, it's still same old city, same old city, same old city. And then he skies it over the crossbar for a fucking field goal. And I was, oh, the sounds that came out of my body. I said things that would put me in prison. Fun fact, Pitar Musa is now 1 for 3 on PKs in his career. So I think Dallas is probably going to be looking for somebody else to step up at the PK spot. That's just my opinion. Then not a ton happens after that. We do jump to the 42nd minute. The ball finds itself at Toikert's feet at the top of the box. He does a little shoulder feint, touches it wide, and he goes to rip a shot looking for the top right corner, but it does get blocked, and then the ball finds itself safely into Martin Paez's hands. What happened after halftime, Mr. Views?
Yeah. So, the boys went into the locker room. I'm watching John Hackworth basically carry Jade Reed off the pitch, in his ear saying, listen, in the first half, you're falling victim to the same thing you've dealt with the last 3 matches. This backdoor bomber is all over you, and your aerial threat is just non-existent when you're making those runs in towards your own near post. And that just can't happen. We watched numerous goals, over the last 4 matches. I think we've had 3 goals of that almost exact same situation. Of course, he shouldn't be put in that situation, but he's got to make some sort of disruption in that play. You're the last defense. Roman Berkey can't be the hero every single time, despite however, much we would like to think that he could be. So the boys come out, they're hot. They're coming out of this locker room. They want to win this match. We haven't tasted a victory since San Jose. Before that, it was Chicago back on May 11th. That's 2 wins in the last, almost 3 months. The fellas were starving for just anything productive, and with some vitalization coming from these new signings, they just came out flying. Immediately into this match, Simon Betcher is going to find himself deep off of a almost nothing play, but he's an absolute workhorse. So immediately he's going to find himself in dangerous positions because he creates dangerous positions out of nothing because he's working harder than almost everyone on the pitch. He's kind of like what Jared Stroud and AZ Jackson could have been if they were a striker and they were much more talented. So he comes in, he works himself into a position, forces the FC Dallas center back to commit a foul. Was it soft? Absolutely. Will we take it? Absolutely. The soccer gods were on our side in that moment. The referee was not very consistent throughout the night. Tim Parker was very upset with the center referee at halftime, went up to the entire officiating crew and was like, listen, please just get the game under control, be consistent. We saw that before they went to the locker room as well. Clearly, she took that as a sign of, I should give them a consolation call because Marcel Hartl in the 49th minute was there to step up at the dot. And this was the most interesting thing in this entire section for me. So Leuven is City's #1 pen taker. Hackworth confirmed in his presser post-match that Leuven is, in fact, the #1 penalty taker, and that hasn't changed. But in this instance, Hartl, in his first appearance at home and in City uniform in general, steps up to the dot. So what happened here is he approached Leuven, according to Hackworth, but Hackworth wasn't very certain. My assumption from what I watched is that Leuven, being the fatherly figure that he is and the incredible teammate that he is, walked up to Hartl and said, have this moment. This is your moment to make a statement in not only to the league, not to this tournament, but to this team, and show them that you're a leader and that you can inspire them in this moment to have some sort of momentum, because we need it. If we're going to do anything in this tournament, we need it. If we're going to beat Portland and give ourselves any kind of playoff hopes come August 24th, when MLS play resumes. So he sent Hartl up to the dot. Hartl made some theatrics out of it, but in the end buried it bottom right and had himself a beautiful little celebration, in which in that moment when they're jogging to the corner was my favorite photo in recent City history is Toy Shirt, Hartl, and Betcher, jogging off into that corner to celebrate a goal. Might be the greatest moment in the last couple of months of City. So that was a huge moment. And it also goes to speak to the leadership and really just the tenacity of the St. Louis team. It's a team that's not going anywhere. They're going to have a hell of a run next year. I mean, this year has been unfortunate for us, but I think that moment says a lot about what's to come. Okay. The rest of the half, poor defending and forced recoveries became the theme. The match kind of became a lot more wide open. City were feeling it. They were chasing that third goal. That leaves them a lot more vulnerable to the counterattacks that have bit us in the ass time in and time out this entire year. Parker, well, first of all, Reed has to take a tactical yellow in the 54th minute, which was absolutely comical to watch. He got beat. It was a dangerous opportunity. So he just straight up grabbed the Dallas player by the shoulders and said, "You're just not going anywhere, pal." Brought him down, takes the yellow, no argument. A few minutes later, a very similar situation is going to happen in the 65th minute. This time it's Kyle Hebert, and he will take that yellow card. Very similar situation. Just, just absolutely. I mean, he Oklahoma drilled this guy. There's no
that one in the stadium.
Absolutely.
The Canuck truck, Kyle Hebert.
Hebert just pulled out the hit stick and just demolished. I don't even know who it was. It might have been Areola at pretty much 5 yards away from the top of the D. And St. Louis is half of the pitch, and that was a fun moment for sure. But another tactical yellow that just had to be taken because we're putting ourselves in these dangerous transitional situations that we really struggle defensively in. And then finally, Tim Parker in the 66th minute, literally a minute later, on this set piece opportunity for Dallas. I think that was created by Hebert's foul. There's obviously when you're in a set piece situation, you're holding your line. In this case, it was the top of the 18. That's where Berkey had our line being held offside line, essentially. And there's some pushing and shoving, as there always is in this situation. A lot of gamesmanship. Tim Parker, as we all know, is very likable for City fans. The rest of the league probably hates him because he gets in everybody's head. He gets in everybody's face. He's very physical. He took exception to a little bump that he took and just gave a little push in the back of the Dallas player who did that. And the Dallas player went down very easily. Tim Parker takes the card, but I understand it in that situation why the referee would give that card, trying to keep the game from getting any kind of unhinged. I get it. It was nonetheless an extremely soft call. They showed Tim Parker on the Jumbotron just laughing his ass off after that, which was very fun to watch. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot. The game remained pretty wide open, but not a lot of super dangerous opportunities in that period. Aside from the next notable thing, which is Hackworth making his subs in the 68th minute, opting to bring out Toyshirt and Hartl, the two Germans. They went 68 minutes, which, to be honest, it looked like Hartl could have gone further. It looked like Seti could have gone further. But I understand the decision. I'm not opposed to that decision at all. In this situation, we brought in, I believe it was Klein and Kojima, if I remember correctly, came in that moment, and we switched into more of a little bit more of a defensive situation, but we still were generating some attack. And then that brings us to the final fourth of the game.
Well said, Will. And this is probably out of the four, the least eventful, but the most exciting. And I'll get to why. So first, in the 78th minute, Mr. Nipple plays a pretty good pass to Peter Musa, but I genuinely believe this might have been Peter Musa's worst game in the MLS. He was so quiet, had a lot of chances, and did not show up for them. Jacob mentioned it, the broadcaster mentioned it, a $10 million man to not finish those kinds of chances. I would be very pissed off. Eventually, we see a deflected Klein effort that leads to a corner, and Lovin put this sucker in with some venom. It bounced around twice, but Thor gets his head on it in the end. Paez collects. Here comes the most exciting moment of the match for me. The final whistle plus 3 points for St. Louis City. We made it through. We have a comeback victory on the sheet this year. Granted, it's not in league play, but I will take it in Leagues Cup. It's against an MLS opponent and has really started to swing the momentum in our direction. What a game.
Oh, it felt good to finally get a W. Just hold off the win. We didn't let Dallas sneak one in at the last moments to earn the draw and take us to PKs. I probably would have had a heart attack. But yeah. I'm proud of the boys for holding out that match and just doing exactly what I want is hold that line. Hold that line.
For
Yeah,
me, it
during-
was so exciting to get anything past Martin Paz, who has been an absolute thorn in our shoe for the last 2 matches, just putting on an absolute show in both of our tilts with Dallas so far this year. So for me, the story of the night was just putting 2 past him, and those 2 being the first goals for Toy Shirt and Hartle. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for me, as the game was coming to a close, 2 of you know this, but I'm sure Will, you share the same sentiment. I was just praying for us to close it out because I was like looking at the subs in my head. I was like, I don't trust our 5 potential PK takers that are now out there with all the Germans off the field. Edu had gotten subbed off. I've never seen JGR hit the ball other than being in the midfield. Like, who's going to take those penalties? But thank God we didn't have to get there, and thank God we won the game and started not necessarily a must-win tournament, but a must-have good showing tournament with a W.
Yeah.
Definitely, completely agree. And with that being said, we ready to get into our points, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Kick us off, Jacob. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so speaking of tournament play, my point this week, so that we are all on the same page, I'm going to break down Leagues Cup tournament itself. If you have any questions on the MLS's website, you can find this information as well, but I'm going to do my best to try and dumb it down and make sure everybody understands what we're doing.
Thank you.
So last year was the first year for this tournament. We, however, did not do great in that tournament. We were unfortunate to draw both Columbus and
Club America.
Club America, thank you. Both went on to be the eventual champions of their leagues. Club America won both halves of their leagues. And Columbus Crew, as we know, won the MLS. The tournament winner last year, though, was Inter Miami, and it was also like the start of Lionel Messi coming over to the MLS.
Was it debut? So
kind of like a dream scenario for everybody in MLS. We can get into, conspiracies later. The tournament format is World Cup-esque, and I say esque because it's 3 teams per group. Each team or each group consists of MLS and Liga MX teams. It's both of the champions from Liga MX and MLS receive a first round bye, so they're automatically into the round of 32. Teams were put into tiers based off of their last 34 games of the 2023 season. So because St. Louis did so well in the first initial 34 games from last year, we were put into that first tier for this year. Let's see. Group stages, absolutely no ties. If you tie at the end of regulation, you go straight into penalties. Each team, though, if you draw in regulation, you get a point out of 3 available points, and then the winner from PKs gets that leftover 3rd point to give you 2 points at the end of everything. If you have any questions, go see the Guadalajara San Jose match. That'll explain it to you in the bracket.
Which was also a great match.
I didn't get to see it. I just saw it through the standings and on Instagram. Let's see. Top 2 teams of each group advance. So if FC Dallas happened to lose in midweek, we're already being pushed through. Now we're just fighting for seeding at that point, but we will see what happens in midweek. Now, this year, Liga MX teams have hub city privileges. What do I mean by hub city privileges? So all of the games are being taken place in the US and Canada, but those Liga MX teams, if they qualify through their group stage, will not have to leave that stadium to go play in the round of 32. Whoever they draw has to come play them. So that doesn't force Liga MX teams to travel all throughout the US after already coming across the border from Mexico. Those hub teams are Tigres, Chivas, Monterrey, I'm missing one. And fucking Club America. Right. All of those teams, as long as they continue to go through, have those privileges through the semifinal. And then the semifinal will take place at whichever higher seeded MLS team happens to be in it. And if it's Liga MX versus Liga MX, then it's going to be whichever higher rated Liga MX team via hub city takes place at. That might have been confusing. Fucking bear with me. This is a brand new tournament.
He's doing his best.
After group play, the bracket turns into knockout rounds where it's split into 4 regions, very similar to college basketball. You have an East, a Central, a West, and a South region. The Central teams of their region play each other right up until the semifinal. They will play the winners of the West. Okay, right. Then we get to the semifinal, and then same over here, right? This is where it's semifinal now. Winners of West and Central play each other to go to the championship, and then winner of South and East play each other to go to the championship. Okay.
There we go.
And then the winner of that wins the whole fucking thing. And there's a third place tournament or game that nobody really gives a fuck about. There is, however, $40 million on the line, a trophy and bragging rights for this tournament. So we should give a little bit of a fuck about winning it if we want to get some cash.
Yo,
But
I didn't realize that the
that's
prize
for
money was
Peter
that
Mooses.
much.
Yeah.
For Peter Mooses.
Good for him. How cool is that? I mean, we still
It's a
scored
stark
no goals.
comparison too to the Open Cup, which is like $300,000, and then that's like a major part of the reason that there's been such controversy, which is that the league chose the money, they chose the the international kind of competition over the historic tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some opinions on that. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
there is enough money in U.S. soccer to put more money into U.S. Open Cup, but they're not. And that is upsetting. We're also not putting enough money into prepping for the World Cup. This is not an outside the city pod. We could get so in depth on that in an outside the city pod, but we will just focus on STL today. Shout out to the fucking newspaper on accident.
Shout us out next,
STL
too,
today.
Hey, STL today, if you need a podcast sponsor, hit us up, cityboysbusiness@gmail. Jacob, thank you for breaking that down for us, because honestly, I've been pretty confused about the Leagues Cup. I know people are upset about it. So let's assume that St. Louis City does move on. Which regional bracket are we moving into?
Well, we are a very centrally located geographically team, so we would be in the central portion of the bracket.
Good.
I'll think
I
a
think he
little
just called you
harder.
stupid.
Yeah, before I ask my questions next time. Well, I'm gonna round out Jacob's point because I'm saying he's done. I'm gonna go into my point for this week, which is that I really like John Hackworth's tactical flexibility. So far in his early tenure as a St. Louis City coach, we've seen a few different formations go out. Tactically, the changes have been made, and 4 new signings have entered the mix. So I believe we entered into the Kansas City match in a 3-4-2-1 formation. I believe at some point in that game, we switched into a 4-2-3-1, which is traditional of St. Louis City. We started off in a 4-2-3-1 against Dallas, and after making substitutions, I noticed pretty clearly that we were in a 4-1-4-1 setup. And so just something that I've noticed from Hackworth is his willingness to be more flexible with our tactics, whether it be putting players in different positions like Markinich on the left mid position or Jaden Reed at center back. And I really appreciate that. I think that it has brung a little more belief into the squad. When I see the squad play last night, it reminds me of the team from the inaugural season that just is playing with a chip on their shoulder and that self-belief that they should be in the position that they are. And so I really just want to commend John Hackworth and take my hat off to him for his good work in so far tactically. It brought us our first victory since San Jose. So I'm all in on it, and keep it up, Johnny. Mr. Views, what you got for us this week, sir?
Yeah. I'm super excited to be able to get a point in on the City Boys podcast. So my point is going to dot, around a few different small areas. But what I want to start with is our new German trio. What we're seeing here now is we're seeing this connection in 3 different, dynamic layers in our attack. So we're watching Leuven, who is able to distribute to Hartle, who is able to distribute to Teuscher. And that is the literal spine. I mean, it's literally shaped like a spine of our attack. And that's what we're going to be looking at for the next couple of years. And it's really important to highlight that because it has had immediate impact. And it's important to understand that we're still missing a very key ingredient, which is a true target. Now, of course, Simon Betcher was able to fill those shoes, but he's kind of more of a workhorse. I think his role on a good roster is a super sub. I think he is absolutely lethal to bring in late in a match in the 70th minute when you need a goal. I think he's just the type of guy that will score a lot of goals off the bench. He is perfect in that role. We're missing our big man, our big number 9 up top, and Joao Klaus. And the reason that's important is because that allows a really true strong target to create space, checking back towards St. Louis's half of the pitch, to collect balls from Leuven, Hartl, and distribute underneath to a guy like Toyshirt, who likes to play a false 9 role between the lines. We saw last night, and we also saw in Kansas City, Toyshirt, even when he was in that like 9 role, he's playing between the lines. That's where he likes to be. He likes to sit right between the CDM and the back 4 of his opponent. He thrives in that situation. He's able to create a lot of space, and if anything, just pull players out of position, make them uncomfortable in the opponent defensive structure. And that is absolutely lethal when you're trying to distribute to quality wingers like Celio Pompeu, Indiana Vasilev, whatever it may be. That is exactly the type of system that you need. And that's how you really get a functional 4-5-1 as well, which is, I think, the formation that City is really going to thrive in over this next period of time. And that 4-5-1 is really a baseline. It can flex. Those fullbacks can come up in this situation. Those wingers can get up and make it look like a 4-3-3. You can have it look like a 3-5-2, whatever it may be. There's so many different options. And that's all generated by having a guy like Durkin, who with defensive responsibility, paired with Leuven, who can distribute to Hartl, and we have that generation of attack. I think that's really important to highlight. The second piece I want to get into is defending. So our biggest problem this year has been this abysmal step cover system at center back that has just bitten us in the ass every single week, it feels like. And the same situation happened tonight. Parker was flat with his center back pairing in Hebert tonight. That was how last night, that's how Dallas scored their goal. That flat situation caused, of course, Totland was kind of sleeping on the job. I don't know if I've ever seen him have a lapse like that in his tenure with City so far. However, he did have an unfortunate moment. He's, just unaware of the backdoor bomber, which is what I keep harping on about Jay Reed having that same exact issue. Totland this time falls victim. Dallas scores are very, very easy. And I think like maybe Grayson said, like butter. Like that goal was just way too easy. City were completely stretched and out of position, and it was their own fault. And of course, Dallas did a great job to take advantage of that. But good teams in a playoff situation are going to do that every single time you give them the opportunity. So that has to get ironed out if City want to make a run in this tournament, if City want to make some sort of heroic run at making the playoffs in MLS, or if we're looking at next year making the playoffs. These are things that have to get resolved. Without Joachim Nielsen, it's very obvious that the step cover system struggles. And so I think Lutz should be eyeing up a potential new starting LCB. He should be looking at a potential defensive-sided left back, basically like what Jay Reed will become in a couple of years. I would love to see him sign like a play now player, maybe 28 to 30 years old on a 2-year contract that we can sell, in 2 years. And then Jay Reed can take over that role because he needs a couple more years under his belt. He's doing good and he's doing what we're asking of him, but he's not ready for that full-time starting left back role just yet. But he will be, and he's going to be a hell of a player. You can mark my words on that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's cost us time and time again. Seattle, Vancouver, Kansas City, LAFC, really key important matches. Colorado. That's just 5 matches I can name just off the dome of extremely important matches City needed to win. And we're conceding goals. I think I said in one of my obnoxiously long captions that I do under all of my posts, which is at STL CITYSCVIEWS, by the way, if you want to check it out.
Right here.
But I think I said something along the lines of the the shit-eating grin that City always has of like, oh, that was great defending in front of the ball, just got bitch slapped off of our faces every single time we have this lapse in judgment. And there's a guy in behind who just scores a tap. I mean, we watched Jordan Morris do it to us. Yep. I mean, that was unfortunate to say the least. Denny Boanga did it to us. I mean, it was the same situation time and time again.
Yeah,
And,
this
and
isn't
my biggest point is that it's got to get resolved.
this isn't the first time that we've seen St. Louis City cut up in 3 passes, 5 touches. Literally, that's all it took for Dallas to get from basically right outside their 18 into the back of our net. It definitely is something that has to be shored up, and I really hope that Lutz does get us that extra defender. That's what we need.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. The German buildup in that spine is super nice. Something I did notice in the game last night, it did lead to us relying heavy on our left side of the pitch, leaving Thor super isolated on the right side. He had the least amount of touches in the match. Just like finding that balance and can make us like so much more potent in the attack, being able to shift it from side to side because it is great and it is working. I just don't want to become predictable like our attack was found out last season and got stopped up.
I am really glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
That is a great point.
I think that's twofold. One, Thorson's ass, and 2, Troiker and Hartel have played together before, so there's already that trust and they know what each other's going to do with the ball. And they've had very limited time with Thorson or anybody else that's going to be playing on that right-hand side. So most of our shit was going to come from the left anyways. And I think probably like an Indy start or when Celio's back or Alm on that right side is going to really make our attacks more dynamic and down both flanks once Headband Man gets the fuck out of the starting 11.
It's also hard to get Durkin over there in the build-up play, and he doesn't really spray passes forward too often. So I know that definitely hurts Thor's play a little bit.
Yeah, I think I think when Vasilev comes back, and honestly, it could be by this Sunday. I know they're playing him very cautiously with his Batman mask at the moment, but I think when he's back, we're going to see a system where Hartle is so. I'm really glad you brought this up, by the way, Grayson, because this is such an important point to talk about, which is that Hartle wasn't really playing a true 10. He was almost like on a left wing, which gave Toyshirt a lot more freedom to get underneath of Betcher. But that's not really the exact system that we're going to be looking at like permanently. I mean, we're looking at a system where right now we don't have a left winger. And so Hartle was kind of forced to get himself out wide. That's why we struggled with width against Dallas for much of the match. And that's also why we ended up with Leuven and Hartle and Toyshirt literally all like just running into each other on that left-hand side numerous times because we're missing that true winger. So when Vasilev comes back, I think he's going to set up on that left-hand side. Thor is going to make his way to the bench. Toyshirt is going to get himself on the right wing this time, and we're going to look a lot more like the 4-3-3 that you guys predicted, which is also what I predicted. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at until Klaus comes back. However, insider knowledge that you only get if you come to my page or if you're watching this podcast right now is that Joao Klaus said himself to an undisclosed source that it's looking like this previous match was, he wanted to play, but they rested him again out of precaution. It's looking like next week, if not the week after, we're going to be seeing the return of the big man up top. And so that's going to shape things a lot more organic. Look at the bald head matches. Oh my God. And that's what we're going to be looking at in this City attack going forward. It's going to be a big, big sign as if we're able to really capitalize with him back in the lineup.
I had to whip it out for the guy. That is absolutely huge news to hear. Absolutely massive. Of course, St. Louis has been plagued by injuries this year. It's nice to see some people coming back. And man, it's going to be a beautiful day when we do get to see Celio back on this pitch for City.
That is
going to be so sad. It's going to be like April or May next year, man. The way these tibia breaks go, these players, even when they come back, it takes them a long time to not be scared to go into a challenge. It takes them time to get their footwork and confidence back. So it's probably going to be like May or April at the earliest next year. So prayers for Celio because he's just the biggest smile in the locker room. I mean, he's still posting on social media every day about like, the progress of his recovery. He's been in the gym every day doing arms and stuff, even though he can't do his legs. So funny, bro. He's going to be looking like the letter T walking around like this, bro.
Man, I cannot wait to see how good St. Louis City looks with a fully healthy lineup. The injuries this year have been devastating, and I think that we have taken the path that we have due to injury. I like without Klaus being injured, I don't know if Becher ends up coming to St. Louis. But with that being said, though, Grayson, you round out our points, good sir.
Indeed, I will. My point this week is about the new guy himself, Simon Becher. I was a big fan of his performance last night. I honestly did not see this transfer coming at all. I was super surprised when I found out about it. But yeah, he's our new number 11. Pretty sweet. So yeah, we've seen a couple different people try to lead the line for St. Louis this year. I think we've had 4 official names at the striker position. So we've had Klaus, we've had Sam, we've had Thor, and I think Kahima led the line once. I might be wrong about that.
Sounds right.
He did.
Yeah. So first off, I mean, you got Klaus, target man, finisher. He's hot. Secondly, we saw Thor. He's agile. He's a great runner. He can get in behind, but he's too cold.
You're being nice. I respect it.
Hey, agile, great runner.
He's a fresh out the womb gazelle, bro.
Hey, I think he makes good runs specifically, but we're not feeding him. Either way, he's too cold. We saw Sam, who I thought would be a good mixture, combination of both. Great strength on the ball, can hold a man off. And we saw last season how dangerous he is running onto balls in over the top. But that porridge was too damn hot. We had to sell it. We had to get rid of it. So we're definitely in a little bit of a Goldilocks situation here. We're looking for what is the right mixture. And hey, we found a great versatile player in Simon Becher to hold the line for St. Louis City. Of course, he is a SLU grad, came through St. Louis, joins us from AC Horsens in Denmark, and we acquired him on loan with an option to buy. So there is a possibility of getting him long-term, depending on how his performances are. Last night, made his debut and looked right at home. Happy to make runs in behind. Definitely has some pace on him, battling with the pretty pacey defense that Dallas has. And yeah, made runs in behind, even checked in close and short, and could play a target man with a guy on his back. Looked pretty confident and definitely a great piece to the puzzle that is St. Louis City. Of course, there is room for improvement. Not the only thing that really didn't see too much of was his goal threat. He did do a lot of hold up play and facilitating the offense, being a role player. But when it came to his chances on goal, we saw him get 2 shots, 1 off target. Didn't look too dangerous himself, so there is always room for improvement. He is pretty shifty. He got fouled 3 times, which is the match high, including that massive PK call that would end up winning the match for St. Louis. So that's huge, absolutely huge. But yeah, pretty decent, pretty versatile. I think he's going to be big. I do agree. Wood still plays backup to Klaus in my mind, but definitely would love to see him on the pitch quite often after that performance. So he's definitely, for me, I thought we were going to have a little bit more time before Klaus coming back. So I was excited for Becher to get some time in. But hey, with Klaus coming back, I'm excited to see them work in tandem, shifting out, giving Klaus his time so we don't have to see him sidelined for these extended periods of time. But I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think about Becher's performance?
You got it.
Thanks. partner, I was just gonna say how refreshed I was to see some unselfish hold-up play from a St. Louis City striker. My word, not only was this cat physical, he was distributing it well up top as a hold-up man should. I was so impressed by that because seeing his physical stature, I did believe that he would be the in behind kind of striker. But yeah, seeing him match up with FC Dallas center backs gives me hope for how we'll stack up against other center backs in the league. Grayson, you also brought up something I'm really interested to see, which is how Betcher and Klaus will connect, if they'll connect, or if we'll stick with a one striker system for the time being.
Yeah, I agree with Will from earlier in his point when he talked about he thinks Betcher is going to look best coming off the bench. I agree with that. And also because, like, if this season shows anything, we're unfortunately an injury prone team. And I think he gives us another option out wide if those injuries do come. According to my source, which is Grayson, in person, Simon is a very, very pacey dude, and we kind of lack that in some of our attacking positions. Like Toychert's not the fastest dude. Never really got to see Hartel open up with the ball, but Grayson got to see it because the broadcast didn't show it. On multiple over-the-top balls, Betcher was the first man there against a very pacey Dallas defense. So having a fast dude out wide with Klaus holding ball up top, that's something excited. That's something we haven't had since the likes of Celio and even Joaquini, honestly, the last number 11 we had. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
His willingness to win the ball back high up, of course, that's very indicative of St. Louis's style. So it shows another piece to me that he does fit the club's idea of what we want very well. He does rate higher compared to other strikers in the league on defensive actions. I think that's comparing him to leagues in Denmark, though. But still, as a striker, having some defensive action shows that, one, you have the passion for the game, your willingness to run in behind. As Will mentioned earlier, like, he is a workhorse. He has the passion to be here. He's got the physicality to put in the power behind it. So I'm excited to see him work it out for St. Louis, see what he can do.
Yeah. Honestly, there's only one thing that I want to add. I think you guys covered all the dots on Betcher. He's been excellent in his debut. The only thing I want to touch on is just to be cautious with him. And the reason I'll say this is, while he has such a great upside and, he's got that wing potential. Of course, if we have Klaus and Cedric, we're going to see, Klaus up top with the Cedric technically in that forward pairing, but it's really a false nine underneath. And Betcher will become kind of that super sub or a winger option. But what I want to say to be careful with is that if you guys recall, so he was drafted by Vancouver January 2022. He debuted for them. I think they had some injuries or something. He eventually got a first team contract, debuted. I think it was on short-term loan, actually, his original debut. In his debut game, he scored 2 goals, had an assist, if I recall correctly. I know he had an absolutely outstanding performance and scored at least 1 goal in that debut. He was red hot, or Vancouver white hot, I should say, right out of the gate. And the reason that's important to note is because as the season progressed and he continued to get minutes, his production significantly declined. I mean, it literally just went right down like a straight line slope. And so I don't know if that's the same situation that happened in Denmark with him, but clearly things didn't work out perfectly at Horsens. And, Horsens, I mean, that's the second division in Denmark. It's not like it's not like he was playing, in the Premier League or anything like that. He should be producing at least decently in this league. And I know that I think he had like 13 appearances, only a couple of goals during that time in Denmark. So while it's awesome to see him succeed, it's really important that he stays on this trajectory and does not cool off, because it seems to me like he has a history of cooling off. But I'm hoping that being back home in St. Louis, he was a SLU Billiken. I think that's going to really just inspire him and keep him with this energy and this confidence. The city's behind him. I'm behind him. I think he's going to be a hell of a player for us. I really am excited to see him in that super sub role. But I'm just saying to just be aware of the fact that historically he has had this cool down pattern, just the same way Adeniran has gone through. I mean, it's not the same situation, but the same kind of pattern following that Adeniran had, going through like 6 or 7 teams saying, oh, this team's the problem. This coach is the problem. This team's the problem. Trade me, trade me, trade me. He's gone through so many teams. It's very obvious that he was the problem. And we knew this, months ago. And I'm hoping that Betcher can break his pattern and really be that standout super sub for us, because I think that is a vital role. And I am super excited for his future.
Yeah, life is hard for a substitute striker. Being the second, third striker on a team is difficult. You rarely get some minutes, and when you do, hey, you're the bad guy because everyone's favorite player is injured. So,
right.
But fingers crossed. But yeah, that's a well noted, duly noted.
Absolutely.
Great point, Grayson. Well, gentlemen, that does round out our points. We ready to get into a preview of a brand new opponent. Oh shoot. I did it again, gentlemen. The second week in a row, I have skipped over Kit Clash. Unbelievable stuff. What a rookie.
Fire him. Fire this guy.
Rookie.
I'm taking over the show.
Get him on the contract. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Kit Clash. Ding, 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 ding. You know it. So this week, since we have a guest, we are going to let Mr. Views here give us a rating on St. Louis City's home kit and FC Dallas's away kit. And then we're going to move into a different kind of kit clash after that. I'll go ahead and I'll explain that after, but I'll go ahead and let you give us your ratings.
Yeah. So looking at City's home kit, I mean, it's an immediate hit. It's an immediate classic. The color is just gorgeous. City red was such a great choice by Carolyn and the entire front office and ownership group. That was just such a great choice. I'm so happy they did that. This is 2 years since they've announced it. I'm still sitting here smiling about the damn color. Obviously I love the navy. The navy is such a great touch because it has a nod to the rivers in the Ozarks, and the water is very important in the state of Missouri, which also includes Kansas City, who we happen to own. Just thought I would throw that one in there. Despite recent events, we do own Kansas City at all times. The funniest thing to me ever was when on Wikipedia, someone went and changed the ownership group of Sporting Kansas City to St. Louis City SC, which might have been the funny, or I think maybe it was Joao Klaus they put, was the funniest thing I've ever seen, like on Wikipedia. That was great. But the kid is just so classic. It's immediately timeless. It's one that probably will stay for years. If not, it'll just go through some very minor adjustments to modernize it a little bit. It's a great kit. I mean, for me, it's very close to a 10 out of 10. I would think I would give it like maybe a 9.2 out of 10. It's a great kit. Looking at Dallas's white away kit, I also think they have a very strong away kit. Away kits are touchy because you have to understand that like the way the league is, you're never trying to like bring too much attention to your away kit. It's supposed to be subtle. You're the away team. And I think the away kit is pretty solid. I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I think you guys said you were dogging on it before, right?
Yeah, we are not big on those flames. Honestly, when I looked at it, when they played last night, all I could think to myself was that reminds me of those emoji t-shirts you used to be able to find at the mall. And that's after I saw that, that's their kit to me.
I call this one, this is the Hot Wheels kit. Officially, it's the Hot Wheels kit.
And it is tough because we've done what, 3 recaps of a STL versus Dallas game, and with each episode, they've just gotten worse. So, like, if you are a Dallas fan watching this, first, lick my balls, we beat you. And second, your kit probably isn't that bad. It's just overconsumption by the 3 of us.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong people about your kit here, okay? So
I'll be the median here and say it's a decent kit. I think I'd give it like a 7. It's a solid away kit. It's nothing special.
Okay, we'll take the 7. So, moving on, next portion of Kit Clash. If you guys are MLS fans, you may have seen MLS drop some throwback kits for a couple of clubs. Sadly, STL was not one of them. Whatever. We will go ahead and talk about those kits. We might rate them on Kit Clash maybe in the coming weeks we'll talk about it. But this week we are going to have a little debate here, throwing out what we believe should be St. Louis's throwback kit. I'll go ahead and start it off. I'll throw up the photo here. I saw this on Twitter. I can't remember who posted it. If I find you, I'll show you some love. But this kit would be inspired by the 1975 St. Louis Soccer Stars. This is a pretty clean kit. We got, white, the block blue, yellow St. Louis lettering on there, blue collar. It's classy. You got the blue shorts and red socks. So we got the, all the different iconic colors of St. Louis, the red, white, and the blue and the yellow. It looks good. I think it's great. That's my pick for St. Louis. Jacob, what do you got? What would you throw out for your biggest kit?
I think in our meeting prior to filming this episode, Ethan and I were linked on the same page, which is pretty typical for the two of us. But we both thought that the old St. Louis Steamers jerseys need a comeback. And I think, we've got the city red as our main kit. We're white as our secondary kit. A nice solid blue with a little bit of a hint of our red would go really, really cool. And it would pay homage to some of the great indoor teams we've had in St. Louis.
Yeah, they've kept the game alive here in the city while we waited and waited on a pro team eventually before STLFC. And yeah, the ambush, the Steamers are a huge part of St. Louis soccer culture. And I personally love the Steamboat logo, the crest for the Steamers. I think it pays great homage to the city and the Mississippi River. So, Jacob, like you said, that is indeed my choice as well. What do you got for us, Mr. Views? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
if they want to hire me for a design idea, you put the steamboat going underneath the arch that we've already got in our crest.
Ooh, okay, you're cooking. Wait a minute. All right.
Crazy.
We discussed a little bit earlier, before recording, and got to know each other. And I mentioned something about how I think you cannot have a St. Louis like throwback soccer jersey without some sort of inkling of STLFC, because STLFC was the USL side. I have like 8 of those. I have like the scarf from every single season of the team. I have like the Star Wars one, like just all these random scarves from cool. STLFC.
That's
still dope. It's probably worth a lot of money now. I might need to look into that.
In the right circle.
Yeah, literally. But now that we're talking about it, I think I've had a new idea. I'm going completely off the dome here. This is breaking stuff. So I think that doing the Steamers idea with that classic logo, but instead of using the lighter baby blue and that like brighter green that was used at that time, use the navy blue and the dark green from the STLFC kits, and then make that exact same Steamers throwback kit. That could go absolutely ballistic.
Yeah, I would spend too much money on that.
Copyright trademark.
Literally, someone write this down.
Hey, I was a little bit surprised that like St. Louis didn't incorporate the fleur de lis into their kit or jersey design. Just the flower logo being such a big part of St. Louis history and all that. I don't think, well, I guess it is used by Montreal Impact in their logo as well. So we don't want to step on any toes. Whatever.
Well, you know how Colorado's got the C on the top there, or even in their captain badge? You could throw the STLFC logo on either one of those.
That'd be hard.
Easily, yeah. That'd be cool.
Hey, I think all of these options were pretty sweet. I'll throw up some mock-ups on the video here. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, that was Kit Glash. Ding, ding, ding. We won. St. Louis City wins. So next up on the
rare for us these days.
Looking ahead to our next matchup in Leagues Cup, we're coming up against FC Juarez. FC Juarez. Let's see. Who's got first up on them? Who's talking about?
I think the fun fact crew should go first, so we don't necessarily end it that way.
Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, FC Juarez is a very new club, much like St. Louis City. We are, we're still technically making baby steps right now. But FC Juarez was founded in 2015. They are Los Bravos, which means they're technically the Braves. Which is it's kind of strange. I mean, I honestly really dig their logo and colors. I think they really are pretty modern and unique, pretty sweet. But since they don't have too much history, there's not a ton of cool fun facts yet. They do have a couple. They do have an American on their lineup. Saucedo used to play for Real Salt Lake. I think that's really a big note from their lineup. That's my fun fact.
I guess I'll get to the doom and gloom from their side, which is that something interesting about their squad is that they've not really been super successful. They are winless in their last 4 matches with only 1 draw, earning 1 point in that time. But also in their short history, they actually lost a player in a car accident this past February, which was unfortunate. Very sad to see. And it could see to inspire some of the team, it's similar to the way after Celio's injury, St. Louis, was like, para Celio and all that. It could be a similar situation where the Juarez players are really looking to have a great season in honor of their late teammate who, like I said, unfortunately passed away in February. So that's definitely something interesting.
Yeah, maybe not the most fun fact, but still
not the most fun fact.
Pretty timely. Yeah,
it is a fact.
Crazy.
That is definitely a fact, and I would be happy to talk about their players, Jacob, because they really only have one that is worth mentioning, in my opinion. His name is Jorge Aitor, and he actually plays. Have you all heard of this club? It's called Cadiz.
Yeah.
Cadiz nuts in your mouth?
Oh, I was like, there's no way that's a real club.
Yeah, he plays.
It is a real club.
Cadiz. That's why I can confidently ask that question. But I'm so happy. Aitor Garcia.
I can't believe
Wait, that is a real club?
Yeah, he's a Spanish player that had a run over in La Liga for a while. No other real notable players. Yeah, he played for Cadiz from July 2016 to August 2018. So a little bit of Spanish influence in the Juarez side, but other than him and Sebastian Sawaka, what's his name?
Saucedo?
Saucedo, yeah, that was close. Other than him and Sebastian Saucedo, I didn't really find any notable players. A lot of Mexican journeymen are on their team. A lot of players that have just done their time throughout the Mexican leagues and are trying to compete against St. Louis City this upcoming week.
Yeah, so in learning about Leagues Cup, obviously I had to go and learn about Liga MX, and with that I learned a little bit. Liga MX is actually set up in they have 2 different names for 2 halves of their season. Right now they're playing the Liga MX, I'm gonna butcher it, Apertura. And like Will had said, they do have 1 draw and 3 losses with a -3 goal difference that they just started that half of their season. But then I went back and I looked at the Clausura part of their league breakdown, and they went 4-4-9 and didn't qualify for the tournament. So I kind of looked at it, and comparing them to St. Louis, it feels like they're having a very similar run of form as we are, where results aren't going their way. They're losing close matches. Unfortunately, they did have a player, die. So they're probably
Wait, you said that. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm not laughing. Yeah,
I'm not laughing at the fact that a player died. That is absolutely horrible. But the way you said that was just, I'm sorry. That just, yeah.
There's no other way to put it. He passed away.
There is.
Yeah, there might be actually.
My bad.
No, you're good.
Prayers up, bro. Prayers up. Anyways, so they're more than likely using this tournament in a similar way we are to boost their confidence and get back to winning ways. And honestly, we will only know more once they play Dallas midweek, which I will be tuning into. I'm very interested to see how Juarez is going to line up against us come this Sunday.
Should be a great match.
Indeed, indeed. Well, any final notes on the episode before we call it? Anything else, guys?
I do want to say that I have never seen another club badge like FC Juarez with such a majestic horse. That is that is inspiring. I think the only other thing to say is that our sporting director, Lutz Pfannenstiel, has hinted that he is not done cooking in this transfer window. I'm very interested to see what he brings in. We did talk about it a little earlier. I'm hoping that it's a left-sided defensive player, whether it be a true left back or a left-sided center back. What do you guys think? Who else could he be bringing in?
I know sources I saw on Twitter were saying left-sided center back and left back were the two targets. And then I did see a funny post saying that it was the leaked short list from Lutz for the center back. It was just the entire center back list from Bundesliga 2. So, which is not too far off, to be fair. Wouldn't be surprised if we bring in more German talent. But honestly, I wouldn't mind bringing in an MLS vet who knows the league, just will be a solid head and center back. I wouldn't mind that.
I think that would be a great option to have paired with Tim Parker. I think Lutz is definitely not done looking. I'm not sure that he'll bite on anything, because the thing about Lutz is it's got to be a good deal. You know, Lutz is very, very smart. He's done, his homework. He knows what he's doing. He's always on the phone, making calls. He's looking into players constantly. I guarantee you his list of potential LCBs and LBs is probably like 20 to 30 players in each of those two roles. I mean, and he's also got a full scouting team. Don't forget this, that, he's got a team of people that helps him do this as well. He just is kind of the focal point of contact between management. And so, I don't think he's done. But will we see another signing this year? Honestly, it's a hard toss up for me. It really depends if the club are looking to move on from Joachim Nielsen, who's extremely injury prone. If they're looking to move on from Tim Parker as Marcel Hartl and Leuven take over a strong leadership role. If it's time to move on from the MLS veteran and Tim Parker, these are all possibilities. I personally would not like us to move on from Tim Parker, but Lutz is the type of guy who will just make that type of decision because he just does not take shit. He does things, he does it quickly, he does it with no regrets. And every single time he's either neutral in these situations or having City come out as the victor of the transfer trade. So I think we should put a lot of trust in him and all that kind of stuff. And also, before we sign off, I just want to thank you guys so much for having me on the show. It's been a lot of fun. It's a hell of a pod that you guys do here. And yeah, it's just been great.
Awesome, well, it has been a pleasure having you. If there were any questions, which there aren't from us, Will Knows Ball, you can find him on Instagram at
St. Louis City SC Views.
Thank you. Yeah, I think final point for me, what I want to see Lutz do, if we're not going to sign a player, I would like to see a short list come out of potential head coach candidates. I think Hackworth is doing a decent job right now. And we did just get some new signings starting to play. So obviously we're going to get that bump, but personally, I don't see him as the best long-term option. And I would like to just, get chatting on who the potential long-term options could be. But that's it for me. And is that it from everybody else?
Feeling good.
That's all we got.
Alrighty. Well, you know the drill, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. You can find Will on the links listed in the description below. He also said it numerous times, so if you weren't paying attention, just go back and watch it again. If you're listening on Spotify, remember to follow, rate us 5 stars, follow again, rate us 5 stars again. All love, all the help needed. And most importantly, this goes out to all the mothers. Don't forget to tell them you love them. This has been City Boys Podcast with a very special guest. Thank you. Peace.
STL.
STL.
There we go.